Hey guys, I hope you're having a blessed up Saturday. Today is day 17 of building self-worth and 30 days of building self-appreciation. My name is Tanya Oliver. I'm a life coach for elite entrepreneurs, high-end achievers, and those that are really looking to operate at higher levels mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. What's up, Patty? Paulo? So today we're talking about something that's been really impactful. All of them have been very impactful. This one just really hit home for me, and I wrote a few stories that I hope will resonate with you, or maybe memories you can go back and how to shapeshift it. Today's main focus is not making reason to self-doubt and transitioning it into reasons to trust yourself, and also to set next level standards versus such high standards that they end up backfiring. And what I mean by this is that I'll give an example. When I was 60 pounds heavier and I was struggling with binge eating and binge drinking, there was a moment where I was just completely shaming myself. And because I had gained so much weight, I would buy clothes that were a size too small or 3 sizes too small, and I would punish myself and I would bully myself and I would pressure myself into changing. But this actually backfired because it created an irregulated nervous system, and because food and drinking were my tool, and even sleeping around was my tool at the moment that helped me process my negative thoughts and emotions, it backfired because I was creating stress upon stress about already knowing that I was dissatisfied and not happy with my current situation of how I looked, how I felt, my habits, my behaviors. And what I realized is that there are certain things that we're taught that aren't going to be in harmony with the path that we are designed to be on in life or in business or in relationships. And when you're consistently doubting yourself or making reason to pressure yourself to change or to bully yourself into change, they could end up backfiring for the things that you're wanting to change. And one of the first segments as far as transitioning this is encouraging positive self-talk, focusing on what is a more mature me. How does that person think? How do they act? How do they behave? What are their decision-making processes? Or what is just a higher level, just a standard up? It doesn't have to be like exactly where I want to be, because sometimes the gap is just so big that we need the next step. We know where we want to go. We know where we're at. But like, what is the next step of like that progress of how I can just level up into that next step? And so what I started doing is I accepted the space that I was when I was a size 16, and I was like, okay, how can I feel beautiful? How can I feel like kind to myself? How can I encourage myself to still make the necessary changes that I needed to make on my terms, and trusting my process and trusting my path? Remember, there's multiple paths to a destination. And I started to just allow myself to feel pretty, allow myself to feel beautiful, buy clothes that complemented my size 16 versus buying clothes for a size 4 that I wanted to be, or a size 2 or a size 0 that I was before, when I also was unhealthy, when I was the complete opposite. And so I was engaged in this abusive behavior that was really holding and pressuring me down. And then I was creating more of a dysregulated nervous system. And so I want you to think about a moment where you're doubting your ability to make the right decisions because it's not part of the rule book. It's part of the way that somebody else was telling you to do something, and it's just not working for you. So what are those moments where you actually need to pull back and be like, wait a second, let me trust myself. Let me think about, accept my path that I'm on, and how can I encourage myself to make the necessary changes of this season that I'm in, and owning and making this season one of the best seasons that I possibly can to make the progress necessary to change and to shift. And that's more of the type of encouraging talk you want to use as far as like thinking of that next standard of where you're going and being more of already there. So if you're already where you want to be, what are the decisions that you're going to be making from that space of maintenance, of sustainability, of the necessary like positive shifts of you cementing in like whatever it is that you want to do, whether it be for your body, for your health, and then like how can you make it cool? Back then when I was binge eating, binge drinking, and sleeping around, I was like, I don't feel good. I don't feel good, and I know this is cool, but how can I make these other things of being sober, being healthy, and really creating purity within my body and respecting my body of who I shared it with and not sharing it with anybody for a while? How can I make this cool? And how can I take ownership of this lane that I'm stepping into and create a new path? And I want to just be straight up with you guys, is that not everyone is meant to follow the common rules. If you're a leader, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. Rules actually make you want to rebel even more. So like, what are the things on your terms when it comes to transitioning self-doubt into self-trust, of like knowing what is my path and I am capable of making the right decisions? I've already tried these other things. They haven't worked. And so how can I create life on my terms? How can I make these systems, these processes, the way that I'm doing life, how can I make that cool? Hey, Angie. So how can I make those things cool, and how can I trust my path? Because if you understand there's multiple paths to an destination, choose the path with the least resistance, or choose the path that feels the most aligned to you. What is a path that feels the most aligned to me, where I'm actually seeing that I have a regulated nervous system? I feel capable. I feel encouraged. I'm not pressuring myself for change. I'm not bullying myself to change. I'm accepting where I'm at, but I also know that I want to change at the same time. And so what if it takes you a little bit longer? At least you're enjoying the process. And one of the things I'm a huge advocate on is the alignment culture. The alignment culture is like, you can still look, feel, and show up in your business life and your relationships as your best self. And you can do it at your own pace, and you could still be moving forward, because you're never going to go backwards. And that's something that's always been really big for me, especially coming from the yo-yoing and binging and going forwards and backwards. It's like, no, you can go forwards, cement in the principles, cement in the routine, cement in the structure, fine tune it, find your flow, and then climb again, and then cement that in. Like, it's way better than going here and then going back here and going up here and going back here or going back here. Like, you know what I'm talking about, because that can typically happen, especially with a high and achieving personality trait, which typically comes from the space of extremist personality. Extremist personality typically has patterns of yo-yo. They have the patterns of going all in and then pulling all out. And at the end of the day, a year goes by and you're practically in the same position as when you started. So it actually doesn't make sense at all. And that was the patterns I started to notice within my own behavior. And I'm like, wait a second, okay, so what if I did this a little bit differently and take it at my own pace, enjoyed the process, encouraged myself, got clear on what the higher standard is, not a completely ideal standard of pressuring myself or bullying myself to get there, but like, what is just that next clear step? And how do I achieve that next clear step? What is a higher version of myself? What is that next level higher version of myself? And how do they act? How do they behave? And once I was, starting to embody being a size 16, and I was embodying that I had an alcohol issue, I had a food issue, I had a sex issue, I had process addiction stuff. I wasn't trusting myself. So I had to hone back in and be like, okay, what's the next clear step? And how do I just become 1% better? What is that 1% better for me? What's that next clear step of just feeling better, being proud of myself, feeling like I have control over my decisions and my ability to make the right decisions, and I trust my process. And it does become some form of an ostrich phase, because you do have to clear out the noise and you have to hone back in, and then you have to take responsibility. And when you take responsibility and you're honest with yourself, that honesty is going to trigger things. It's going to trigger things that you didn't want to see, and that's why you numbed and suppressed them in the first place, because they're painful. And so those triggers are going to lead to that self-awareness. That self-awareness is going to trigger even more things. And the tools that you were using in the past the tools that you were using in the past can't be the same tools that you're taking with you for your future, because those same tools were self-destructive. So then it's coming to an awareness of what are the tools that I can use in order to help me that are going to be efficient and are going to be supportive and are going to allow me to get to the next level versus keep me stuck AF. And so these are the questions, of course, like having the support and having people. When you're in this space of this self-doubt, if you don't trust yourself, every single season of my growth, I've always had chosen intentionally somebody stronger than me that was equipped with better tools than me as part of my lineup. So every single growth spurt that I've had has never been alone. But I will say I've always trusted myself, and one thing that I've been very, very good at is trusting the right people to be part of my lineup and knowing when it's time to move and knowing when it's time to find somebody else as part of the lineup for that next level of growth. But to still keep people in the right positions of what I need them. And even pro athletes, I know we just had the Super Bowl, but pro athletes, because I've had the honor of working with a few, they have anywhere from, depending on the sport, 3 to 10 coaches in the front for their forward movement, and they've got double the amount in the back for moments when they feel weak, when they are in a space of discouragement, when they are physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually not well. And so they're constantly having that support, that forward movement support, and moments when they fall down support. And if you think about the typical entrepreneur, the typical just human being, and one thing I want to emphasize to my women that are raising children and are leaders in the household is that most of you guys are not supported. And that's why there's no level of growth. You don't feel that level of fulfillment. You don't feel like your energy is charged. You're misusing your energy. I was listening to a podcast this morning, and it was interesting of the verbiages that they use. A lot of people talk about mismanagement of money. But what about the mismanagement of our energy? Where is our energy being managed and exchanged? And I was like, well, that's super fascinating, and it was nice and refreshing to hear that people are using these type of terms to bring in more awareness. And there's something that also was really powerful when this process happened. I'm going to share with you because I think it's going to serve you. Is that there's something called permission-based statement, and I use the permission-based statement that helped me tremendously. And this helped with understanding. Part of self-mastery is even knowing your personality. Part of my personality is very rebellious. And because I lacked trust in myself, trust in others, trust in making the right decisions, which comes back to no more making reasons to doubt yourself. No more reasons to make those things. So the permission-based statement is, I can do whatever I want, but how do I choose to feel? I can go ahead and eat whatever I want, but how do I choose to feel? I can go ahead and sleep with whoever I want, but how do I choose to feel? I can go and work any type of career, but how do I choose to feel? And when you come back to that space of like, wait a second, what is the outcome? So if I'm going to do this and I give myself permission, that also helps you reclaim control over that thing that might be controlling you right now, where you feel like you are weak around that thing. We also call it the kryptonite. Like what are those things that make you super weak that you know like you can't trust yourself around? So when you give yourself permission that you can have, be, and do whatever you want, but how do you choose to feel? Is this going to bring you levels of fulfillment, which is practically the main reason why we strive for things anyway, why we set extrinsic goals, is because we believe when we achieve that thing, it's then going to allow us to feel the way that we want to feel about ourselves. But you have to get clear on how you want to feel. How do I want to feel on a day-by-day basis? And then are those people, places, and things in harmony and in alignment with my ability to make the decisions that create create the cognitive consonance? Remember, we talked about the difference between cognitive dissonance and cognitive consonance. Cognitive dissonance is like, this is who I am, this is where I want to be, but my actions, thoughts, and my behaviors are not in alignment towards that higher version of who I want to be. Cognitive consonance is that even though you are not that way yet, you don't have that money in the bank account, you don't have that relationship, you don't have the body, you are taking day by day your DMOs, your daily methods of operation every single day. You are establishing the habits, the thoughts, the behaviors that are bringing you a little bit closer until you merge that gap of who you want to become. And so to accept and complement the now with your goals. So that's what today is all about with building self-appreciation, building self-worth. If you found value in today's live stream, just go ahead and share it with your people. Let them know what we're doing. If you want this PDF directly in your inbox, I send out the emails with the replays every single time we do this. We're on day 17. We're going on to day 18. We're more than halfway through 30 days of self-appreciation, which is just the beginning, hopefully, for your journey. So this is in the email. You can get it at tanyacoliver.com/calendar, as well as your commitment contract and your PDF, just to see the growth and ways of measuring your progress. Hope you guys have a blessed up Saturday. Make sure you're doing something good for yourself and in alignment, and that you are encouraging yourself on your journey of who you strive to become. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. All right, if you have any questions, just send me a message. Bye.